They just have to listen to us. They just have to give us what we want. What up, YouTube? It's your boy CJ. This is CJ Knows Tech, where I love to talk tech and anything creative. And yeah, I just did a video not too long ago where I went in kind of on Apple, asking them like, you know, WTF, what are you doing? You know, we saw the renders from the possible iPhone of this year and it wasn't looking too high. And then you got all the other drama and extras that Apple has been going through. But it's not just Apple. We got Samsung. They just put out that they're gonna have far lower numbers than what they expected or what they, you know, projected. So that brings the question, is the smartphone dying? Is the flagship smartphone on a decline? Now, there's a lot of factors to put into play and to think about before jumping just straight to conclusion of saying that, oh, Apple's dying, Samsung's dying, Google and so forth. Let's be real. How often is the average consumer upgrading? I remember I used to be on a 2-year cycle for sure. Sign that contract, you locked in. Now with the whole payment thing, you know what I mean? It's bringing more finance and more of a toll on expenses for the average consumer. So hey, they're gonna ride that out until they're able to get it to a point to where it's time to move on. And also, these phones are so good. How quick do you need to upgrade? How soon do you need a new phone? It's not as often as they would like you to do it. Also, it's not as often as they expect you to, but kind of hit that plateau in innovation to some degree at this moment. It's kind of been flatlined anyway. There's nothing in the new smartphones that's making you just, your heart throb and go crazy to the point to where like the average consumer, which is what I'm speaking about, not us tech nerds, not us techie lovers, not us, you know what I mean? Not us just crazy, gotta have the latest and greatest type of people, the average consumer. It's a lot of people who I speak with, man, they got them old joints, they got the finger press, and those aren't even old, but yeah, they're old in a tech lover's mind, you know what I mean? Especially with the pricing. With the pricing of these phones, man, I'm waiting 2 years before I upgrade if I'm an average consumer, if I'm not into the, yo, I gotta have it now, you know, all that craziness. And I read my comments too, that's another thing. I look in the comments, I look at what people are saying. I gauge the comments, I gauge the responses, I gauge what people are saying. When people speak about, oh, I couldn't afford this, hey, or I could afford it, but I refuse to pay it. That speaks volumes. Like, the average consumer has spoken. They have taken a stance against the pricing, and they're not as gullible. They're not as easy to bait in, meaning that the manufacturers, Apple, Google, Samsung, you gotta work harder. You gotta bring more to the table in order to make it worth the upgrade. Also, we gotta get a competitive pricing structure going. You know what I mean? Think about it. These smartphones are at the price of laptops. It's crazy. And laptops can do so much more, but yet they're just not as small, as convenient. And the technology in these smartphones are getting crazier and crazier. For sure, the power is there to have in your pocket. It's pretty nuts. But like in the tech space, I just think we're starting to be all technology snobs. We're starting to get bougie. We're starting to get drama filled. We're starting to be like, well, if this business didn't have a crazy quarter, we're starting to point the finger. We're talking nonsense. Like, that's business. It's peaks and it's valleys. There won't always be an upward trajectory. There's gonna be times where you dip and you gotta bounce it back. That's what business is. That's what the grind, that's what the hustle is. That's what Apple is. That's what Google is. And that's what Samsung is. This ain't their first time going through a downward spike. Better believe it, they're gonna bounce back. But the only question is, how are they gonna do it? It better be good, cause I'm here for all of it. Man, my hat science, you know what I'm saying? It's on top of the button. You know, the hair ain't right, so I have to throw this joint on. But it got my hat science, it got my hat floating. You know what I mean? I'm on my Chance the Rapper / T.I. right now. But I just wanted to pose a question. I wanna hear what you guys have to say. I want you to just offer up your opinion and your thoughts and your truth as to why you think, or why you refuse to upgrade. What are your thoughts on the latest smartphones, all of the flagships? How have you been feeling over these last couple of years? Why haven't you upgraded? Why do you refuse to upgrade? Like, state your stance down below and let's get the conversation going, because these brands are online and they looking and they listening and they gotta keep an ear to the streets, and we as the streets, we gotta speak. So let them know how you feel, baby. Is the smartphone dying? The flagship smartphone, is it on a downward spiral that it can't return from? I don't think so. Personally, I think these companies are all gonna bounce back. They just have to listen to us. They just have to give us what we want. Period. Point blank, period. That's it. I mean, yeah.